Hi there, everyone. Meteorologist Robert Spetty here with you today. It is currently the evening of the 18th of October 2016. This typhoon ever growing out here towards the east of the Philippines, Typhoon Haima, expecting this to become a super typhoon in the near future. Absolutely symmetrical, and what I mean by that is it really has a saucer shape. You can see down towards the south and towards the north, almost equally distributed here. Pretty decent outflow aloft. That's actually what you can kind of see here on that wispy type of images going off towards the east away from the storm. That's its outflow, and also down here towards the south along the southern flank. But overall, this is continuing to spin up rather impressively. The infrared imagery also shows this very high cloud tops around that center of circulation. If you are ahead of this, now is the time to prepare. I know that a lot of people in northeastern Luzon just went through Sarika, and that was a dangerous storm in its own right, but I think this is a completely different beast here altogether. Much stronger than what we've seen with Sarika. Right now, very strong pressure down to 925 hectopascals, winds of 100 gusting to 140 knots. According to the Japan Meteorology Agency, expecting this to intensify up to a violent intensity, with pressure continuing to drop to 910 hectopascals prior to landfall. Definitely very dangerous storm system from Cagayan down to Isabela and Aurora, especially northeastern Luzon, even extending further inland as well. So there's a lot to talk about with this storm system, but the big thing is that landfall is very likely in northeastern Luzon. I know a lot of questions throughout the day I've gotten. Well, what is the chance of this wavering towards the north or towards the south, maybe coming near Manila? It's not likely going to be happening. Really northeast Luzon, Apari, probably one of the biggest cities in the right front quadrant of this storm. Expected to be impacted as this comes roaring on shore here overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning. And this is actually from the HWRF model. These areas in the darker purples indicating to you about 140 to 150 knot wind gusts. Right fried at the side of the storm system, definitely down trees, flying debris. Even further down towards the south where Sarika recently hit, there is still down trees and loose debris laying around from that. That can easily be picked up. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch here. If you just hit somebody once, they might wobble a little bit, but second hit could be a knockout. And that's really one of the big worries with this and some of those areas recently hit by the last storm. So that's something we're going to be watching out as this comes through. The only saving grace, and I say this with all due respect to northeastern Luzon, is that this area has been hit so many times by typhoons. It's typhoon country. If you ever wanted to live somewhere where you just love tropical systems and you built yourself a nice big bunker of a house, I would say southeastern Taiwan or northeastern Luzon. This is definitely really prone to it. So a lot of the towns and cities are located further inland away from the eastern seaboard here. I've seen a lot of people actually comparing this storm to Haiyan that hit further down towards the south in the Visayas, where there was a lot of coastal communities and bays and inlets. This is a different little beast here in northeastern Luzon. The rain factor is actually a big issue if we're talking about further inland, because there's going to be a lot of precipitation here. I mean, this is showing in some areas upwards about 10 to 20 inches. The ground's already saturated across this area from our last storm. The area is getting as much as 400 millimeters of total precipitation. So with that threat, rivers are already somewhat high. The ground's saturated, so landslides are a threat. I think that's going to be one of the bigger issues farther towards the west as we look ahead with this storm system. So northeastern Luzon really want to be prepared. Manila still could see some flooding, and that's localized urban flooding I'm talking about, which is always a problem here. Talking about these types of tropical systems. But right now, this is actually a fairly large storm, so Manila will see some rain showers further down towards the south. I had this question today, and I do want to explain it really fast. You're looking at this track right here. Now, this is the size of the storm, and some people are confused that this is actually what the size of the storm is as it moves over Luzon. That's not the case at all. This is actually what we call the cone of uncertainty, or the cone of air, and the center line could waver towards the north or towards the south, and typically in most storms that is often the case, but this one we have a lot more confidence that it should stay in the center. But it could track further towards the south or towards the north. This is not the size of the storm. It's not going to be getting bigger once it gets into the South China Sea here. It's more or less just the weather agencies here indicating to you that within that cone of air, you should be prepared for the possibility of typhoon strength winds. All right, the overall background flow, though, should keep this on a westerly track along with that model consensus trending towards the northwest. That's confusing, or that's not confusing, it's just concerning, is what I meant to say, is that from Hong Kong over towards Fujian, you could be impacted as well by this storm system as it reemerges out into the South China Sea. And definitely a late season tropical system in southeastern China is not something they really want out here. So that's something we're going to be watching over the coming days. But overall, right now, that subtropical ridge should keep it on this westerly track, heading off into that direction. Also, Sarika still over there impacting Hainan, by the way, everybody. I'm not doing a video update on that tonight. There's a separate update on the website if you do want to go check that out. And also add our Facebook page, Western Pacific Weather. We have plenty of updates being posted there. In its own right, it's a very dangerous storm and definitely going to be bringing some flooding rains out there. But right now, this powerful major typhoon, and I think everybody out ahead of this really needs to be prepared and take this seriously. It's nearing the Philippines. All right, guys, that's all for me today. Thanks again for watching here at westernpacificweather.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know in the comment box down below. One other thing, my voice is still gone. I know yesterday I mentioned how my cold was really bothering me, and it still definitely is. I'm continuing to fight it, so I'm just going to leave you here on that note. Thanks for watching, everybody.